All right, we are live. I am going to give it a minute for people to join and aimlessly talk. Also, I might as well say it now, but I'll probably say it like 4 more times. Matt's going to be a little bit late. I'm just going to, like I said, tweet this out, let people know we're going live. Also check, I don't know, linked to the Morning Skate Pod. Let's see. All right, well, I guess I have to type in the entire thing. But yeah, everyone joined in. Yeah, Matt texted me saying he'd be 5 minutes late. Then he said he'd be 10 minutes late. I don't think it's feeding through to Twitter. Tough break there. I just don't think that works. We're just going to be on YouTube. That is what it is. But yeah, hockey is back. We're freaking, I mean, it's Christmas. I mean, every day feels a little better than the last. I just wish I had more time like I used to, because work right now is very busy, but only one team so far. I've waited in the lobby multiple times, just haven't been in at the right times. Was at the gym again today. Like, here we go. Come on, give me a draft. Did not happen. But one team down. I did it on stream, and it was the infamous Zach Benson draft. I will be naming it that. If it advances, I get to, I believe, punch Matt square in his stupid face. So can't complain. Good to see you, Nobo. Sox, welcome back. Welcome back to the top of the leaderboards, as always, in the NHL streets. We have a long time till the season starts. We have a lot of time to draft, but there's no sense in waiting around. There's no sports today. I literally found out right before we started it was freaking the ESPYs. Like, who cares? They're going to talk about a bunch of sports that don't matter. We're out here to freaking get after the best buck streets. What's going on, Noah? What's going on, Tom? The guy in the 101 draft was too good in this one. And Adam, welcome as well. After the big playoff win for you, winning the Best Puck Cup. Huge. Like I said, Matt's going to be a little bit late. I was like, 9's good. He said, absolutely. Then he said, I'll be 5 minutes late. Then he said, I'll be 10 minutes late. He said it's all going to be worth it. He has a very good story to tell. But we will, while we wait, pull up something. Hold on 1 second. But the one thing I forgot to do, I was already 2 minutes before, and I was like, I never set up my second monitor. And I'm also in my living room right off the jump. I want to have good Wi-Fi. I moved everything out here. I don't know what's going on. I have the extender. It's not working. I think it makes it worse. I'm going to try to hardwire in next time, I think. And last time that didn't help me at all. So that room that I do the normal recording, it's cursed. It's a cursed room. It does not get service. I don't know what's going on. Everywhere else in the house is fine. But yeah, let me pull this up and share my screen. Okay, actually, it will not pull up. So that's a good start. But this is from the Fantasy Oracle, or oh my God, I was about to say, yeah, Mano. What's his Count MC? Count MC. There we go. I was like, what the heck is this freaking underdog name? He posted this in the Puck Bros chat, which is in Pete's Discord. Open image. There we go. And share screen. Entire screen. This screen. Share. So if you don't have this again is in Pete's Discord in the Puck channel. I'm sure it'll be fine if I move it into our Discord. I can also just share it on Twitter. But as you can see here, the overview is the games played in the regular season, the back-to-backs he outlined, round 1, round 2, round 3, and finals, and then some average opponent strength and different metrics that he just added in before we started, actually, which was nice. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be what people are looking for. The Penguins have 5 games in week 1 of the finals. Get after Sidney Crosby. Not a ton of depth there. That is one thing that this show is really going to uncover. The thing that's hard to do, like, on your own. I mean, you could type in team by team and underdog and say, like, oh, great, I'm just going to, like, oh, there's no one taking any Islanders defensemen. But, like, actually looking at what these defensemen that might get in that position will do is a good way to say, like, is it actually worth going after Tony DeAngelo, or would it be better? Am I better off waiting and taking a different player, such as like a second defenseman on another team that may have better ancillary stats within this threshold, and if they get the boost, could be a much bigger player. Like, I'm trying to think of like good examples. I mean, I like Hannafin last year, but it didn't really work out, where like everything kind of broke the right way for a long periods of time and it just didn't matter. But like that's a better stab, in my opinion, than taking a guy that like could truly be a zero. So we're going to kind of go get team by team, try to figure out if there's any players that we're missing, any players that might actually have a chance to have a big role. So that's going to be a big part of this. And then the best puck playoff schedule. I mean, there's not anything that's insane. I mean, Nashville, only 2 games in the first round of the finals. Same with Utah. I mean, that's a little bit weird. The second week, the Rangers. So a few teams that kind of stand out in a negative way, but the Penguins with that 5er, a lot of teams with, 7, they were the only ones with 8, I believe. So it's going to be, nothing insane here, but definitely worth looking at, trying to zone in on. If you do take a goalie, for example, like a Igor Shesterkin, they only get 6 games at the finals, it might be worth ensuring you're getting a 7th game somewhere else. Again, there's an 8 game for the Sharks, 8 game for Ottawa, 8 game for New Jersey. Like, try to maybe just pitch in a couple extra games to get yourself a little more upside. John, welcome. I mean, Luke Hughes, I took him as my second to last pick in the last stream. The people are just not thinking. They're not thinking, and they're not looking ahead. And that's, again, a big focus of what we're doing here tonight. Let's look ahead. Let's start to get into that next level where we can actually say, I mean, again, like I make the joke in the underdog, again, the chat that John is, the mainly, why am I like the best ball, bro? What even is the name in there? Is it just literally the dog app is ours. You know what I mean? But the joke I'm making is that the NFL was like an argument over which player is going to get like 5 more seconds of time with the football in their hands, and people will claw and fight and lose their mind and argue over it. And in hockey, it's like, which player is going to be playing 20 minutes a night plus on power play 1 versus a player, and like that's the last player you might be drafting over another guy that is probably going to see 15 minutes or 16 minutes a night. And I find all of it to be just a more fun exercise. And of course, watching the sport is objectively better. I don't think anyone could really argue with it. But people try. One day we'll look back on this time frame when football was the most popular sport and say, like, how did we just like let that happen, where there was like 7 minutes of action in a 60-minute window? But that's where we are. Matt is here now, so I can stop talking about how much football is bad. And Matt, welcome to the show.
I'm just catching up on the chat here. Benson draft. I'm glad we've talked about that. Yeah, we will. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it is just the Badge Bros chat, John. I was literally gonna say that I literally called it the dog app chat almost, and I was like, no, that's the wrong thing. But I was saying that what I'm showing is in the Badge Bros chat in Pete's channel. And John, if you want to leave a link, feel free. I'll share it with everybody else. And the other thing is, I'm naming it the Benson draft, my first one. And if that one advances, I get to punch you square in the face.
Deal.
All
right. So my day could not have been crazier from just what I thought was going to happen today versus what actually transpired. So let me just say, if you want the hockey talk, you can get up and grab a beverage and come back in about 5 minutes. But basically, some of you might know I went on a vacation a couple weeks ago. Was gone for 2 weeks, or I went on 3 weeks ago-ish, and was gone for basically 2 weeks. The day before I left, there was a cat in the back patio. I live in a row home in South Philly, so I have a little patio area, and this cat was just laying on the cement. I'm like, all right, that's weird. I've never seen a cat back here before, but I leave tomorrow, like whatever, it'll probably be gone. Fast forward a couple weeks, I'm back. First night, there's the cat again. And I go, uh-oh, this doesn't seem good. Like, why is there a cat here? I go outside. She runs up to me. She's so friendly. And then I feed her for the next couple of days. She comes and goes down the little alleyway. And finally, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get you a vet appointment to get you scanned because, cats have a little microchip that, well, most of them do, that you can scan and get the information about the cat. And that appointment was for today. So for the last few days, I've been keeping her in a spare bathroom down here. And, she's been a little shy, a little hissy, but still, showing signs of the friendliness she showed outside. So I was kind of like, well, I think she was an indoor cat. So we scan her at the vet. She's all healthy. The vet goes, she's a little older than we thought. I thought she was like me at most 2 or 3, but I mean, how was I supposed to know? So we get home from the vet. She did great. I put her information, her chip scans, and I put her information into the little company that runs the chip, and I get a call at about 7 o'clock that I'm still reeling from. What happened is basically this guy lives in Reading, Pennsylvania, which is nowhere near Philly. It's like 90-minute drive down the highway. But he had just recently got divorced, and he sold the cats to someone he found on Facebook, and he met them at the corner of where I live. So like not a house address. So I don't know what that means. There's some apartments at the corner there, like 3-story homes that are apartments. Um but he met her at the corner there. So this man, clearly, I talked to him. He seemed like a super nice guy. Got divorced, has a kid, probably had to downsize considerably, and gave up the pets. So we were talking to him on the phone, and it's like, okay, like this is really weird. Like what, how did this cat wind up where she was? And so it was awful, but so we find out the cat is actually 10 years old. She has a bonded partner who she was sold with, like her sister, her litter mate. And my mind is still boggled by that. So someone took these cats in May and managed to lose one of the cats by June 25th. And it is so sketchy. I have a name. I'm gonna hunt this person down if I have to, like in the area, like because where is her sister? Where is this other cat that is apparently there is so much going on, and I probably miss like huge critical details. But so that is why I'm late. I was expecting to have a normal night where I was actually going to run some KHL data for my little spreadsheet that we're going to share. But I did none of that because I was playing, Matt the Bounty Hunter and trying to find, this person who, by the way, is not contacting him. He has a name and a number for her. He texted her the day after after he dropped him off, and then texted again a few days later. Never got a response. And so now he just left the voicemail, with her saying, "Hey, can you tell me what the fuck's going on with this other cat?" So basically, I have a stray cat in my bathroom down here, and today I learned I have to find another cat in order to make sure that like they have each other. So this is just a wild situation. I think DJ would say the cat situation is crazy. But yeah, if you know anyone who has like access to every single individual in the Philadelphia area, let me know because I might need to do some searching to find this person.
All of this to say, send Quinn Hughes back to his brothers. I mean, a great way to put it, Matt. I didn't even think of this whole story just to get back to the Quinn Hughes situation.
That is crazy.
Really good. That is crazy. I mean, obviously I've known some of the details, and you're like, yep, we're going to find out everything today. And then you're like, save it for the show. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be something. So, wow.
It was a goddamn fire hose of information. And like, obviously this guy feels so bad. Like, he feels like he let the cat down, and it's just like, yeah, I'm so like, God, it's just, it's heartbreaking in no sense, but it's also like so motivating now that like, I know, what I have to do. Before it was just like, there's this cat here. I don't know what to do. Do I give it, does my sister want it? Like, cause I can't keep 3 cats in the
Tom has the right idea.
So.
You need to bring the other cats to you. Like you're Vancouver. So he's, I think we solved it. You get all the cats. And they all go to Vancouver.
I think that's the case. Okay. Final thing. The final actual important detail is the company that has their chips actually had a case opened for the sister cat on the same day I first saw this cat. And that is one of the strangest parts to me. It's like, did someone find the cat and scan her and then not reach out to, because like this company should have reached out to the guy that I got in touch with, because this company so like if anyone knows what a case opening means in the context of like lost pet stuff, that would actually be very useful.
Yeah,
Obviously,
if
I'll
one of
do
our
some more
16
investigation, but
listeners
um,
knows what's going on,
hey,
that
who
would be great.
knows?
You never know.
I'm also gonna clip this and post it in the Matic Discord, because in the Matic Discord there's a couple of foster parents for cats that we were talking about stuff. So that's part of why I wanted to say this on video, because I don't know how to type all of that out. It's been an absolute wild ride. My family group chat's going crazy. I mean, we're just all like we're going nuts over in these streets. But all right, hockey time.
Hockey time. This is good. I'm glad we had Mood's Corner. Normally it's me talking about true nonsense. This was at least interesting comparatively to me being like, I don't know. I went to the Sabres game and they're bad. Ha ha. Yeah, we could get into the hockey now, but if anyone knows anything about finding people that very likely abandoned their cats, please reach out to Matt, because that's certainly what it sounds like. Someone was like, oh yeah, I'll take your 2 cats, and then immediately abandoned them, which is super fucked up.
She paid money for it. Like that's
yeah.
It's not like it was a giveaway. Like, I don't know. It wasn't probably a ton of money, but
yeah.
Just gonna.
I certainly.
Yeah. We'll see.
A little bit. I was gonna off the jump while I was waiting for you. I was gonna cover a couple of the best ball rules and I'm guessing you need a minute to pull things up. So if any, because we could kind of like touch on it very briefly, but the few changes in general, I mean, there's some big ones that we mentioned at the end, but it is a bigger contest. I believe, I can't remember what last year was. I put 96 people in the finals. Was it 125?
The reason it's a bigger, it's the same size contest. It's a bigger final because it's 3 of 12 advancing instead of 2 of 12.
Yep, it's the same size contest. I was like trying to, that is exactly it. Round 1, 3 advance. That's the difference. That gives you more entries into the second round, and then it's going to wind down to the 125. The schedule is going to be a bit goofy because of the longer break, meaning that, let me just pull it up again.
It's the same as last year with the 4 nations.
It's a little bit longer. I don't think it's much. It's because these are 3 weeks. Last year was 2, I believe. Was it? No, maybe it was 3.
No,
whatever.
Look at this. Like the Olympic break is super short. Right. It's real bad for the players, but
well, be good for us. And then, of course, some of these rules, if you've ever done any best ball drafting ever, you'll know the answer to. I don't really need to get into everything, but the roster makeup, which is the 2 wingers, 1 center, 1 D, 1 goalie, 9 bench, and 2 flex instead of 10 bench and 1 flex, meaning that 1 position can come from technically center, defenseman, or winger. But because of the depth at center, because just logically thinking about it, like the best players play center as far as forwards go for the most part. Some players like Ovechkin and others kind of naturally go to the wing to be goal scorers. And there's some guys that actually, can get there in that capacity. And certainly some wingers like Kucherov and Pasternak reach the top levels of drafts, but there is going to be a lot of depth at center, which is probably going to push different builds than we're used to. So the meta being the 3-7-3-3 is likely shifting to a 4-6, if not.
That is something that I ran some super preliminary data on. Actually, I shared it in the Dog App channel in the Discord. So if you're patrolling there, you've already seen this. But I might as well pull it up while we're talking about it, because let's see. I will also share my screen now. And it's not pretty. But basically we're looking at some tables of data based on like how you constructed your rosters. And so if you're on your phone, I'm sorry, but I'll voice over it. But iPad, computer, TV people, you should be able to see this. I looked at teams based on how many positional, how many players they had at each position. Like you said, 3-7-3-3 was the meta. Keep in mind that was the sharp build. So like some of the people who don't know what they're doing are unlikely to just luck box a 3-7-3-3 build, So that's part of what's going on here. But I did look at on the right side, you'll see 2 columns that are how last year went with last year's rules. So for example, 3 center builds last year advanced 20.5% of the time. That's about a percentage point better than the field as a whole. And every other center number was lower advance rate than the field as a whole. Okay. Update it with these middle two columns where basically I said, okay, now 3 out of 12 advance. I didn't account for wild cards because last year there were wild cards. What matters is the difference versus the field. And we don't really see a change in how the field advanced with 3 centers, even adding the third center or the third advancing team and the 2 roster slots. Or sorry, Jesus Christ, the 2 flex positions. Yes,
Yeah.
That is accounted for in this scoring system. What I also looked at was spike rate, and what that meant to me is I was trying to think through like what do I care about. I looked at 2-week windows, like the finals, the semifinals, the quarterfinals, and were you in the top 200 out of the about, I think it was 12,000 ish teams drafted last year? So, like, did you spike at any point during the season? AKA, did you build a team with enough upside to potentially win this contest? And that's where we found a little bit more leveling of the 4 center builds, which I think matches our theory. Where the spike rate was about the same between 3 and 4 center builds, and the opportunity to have multiple spike weeks over the course of, I think I looked at weeks 12 through 24, and I just segmented them into 2-week windows and then just tallied across. Did you spike 1 time, 2 times, 3 times? We saw a sizable difference in the multi-spike weeks from the 4 center builds, which again, I think that's what I'm going to be building with, at least before I do more analysis. Like the 4-6-3-3 sounds about right. But I found this actually kind of interesting and worth sharing. When you look at wings, there's not a ton of great actionable insights here, I don't think. Defense was interesting. The 2D builds didn't fare as well as I thought they might. That could be in part because most people were only building 2D teams with certain players, Cale Makar, I don't know how Cale Makar, for example, fared as a player in this contest, or at least I don't remember. I could get that information, but keep that in mind that like if you're building with 2 defensemen right now, maybe that's a difference because more forwards are scoring in the flex, therefore D matters less. That's one theory I also have. And then of course goalie doesn't change hardly at all based on this, which I think makes a good bit of sense. But all right, that is the contest. I did just want to talk about hockey first. I mean, fantasy hockey, obviously underdog is fantasy hockey. But I thought we could go team by team through the league, talk about players who have joined each team and sort of how we see the fantasy outlook for those players. So is there anything else you wanted to cover? Because I think we should talk more about the contest when we're drafting or later.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I think we're good. I think it's good to get like our mindset first of like what is important. Now let's look at the players that are important and then let's draft. We can jump right in after going through teams. So obviously alphabetical order makes the most sense. Anaheim would be up first. Of course, I think Anaheim is an interesting example of like a team that seemed pretty hell-bent on running 2 power plays and always changing up what those looks would be. New coach, new year, new players. I like what you have here for the first power play. I would be pretty surprised unless if Owen Zellweger does get traded, which that is being rumored right now. Bob Stauffer was saying that he expected him to get traded. Don't know where he's hearing that from. Something to keep an eye on, of course, because it feels like there are other guys that could conceivably take a power play role, but Owen Zellweger was pretty above the rest in that department. But we'll use the data we have for now. So I'll pass it back to you here. I mean, is there anything you want to touch on first?
Yeah, they added Michael Granlund, which he's the obvious guy who, in the lineup, I would not be surprised to see him just about anywhere. So like Alex Killorn was not very good last year, but he was pretty much glued to Leo Carlsson. So like, that's partially just because of play style, I think. And then we saw Cutter and Leo have a great time. So I think that's at least a possibility to start. McTavish remains unsigned. we expect that deal to get done, of course. Dostal too. Frankly, it's odd that he's not signed yet, but
Yeah.
those are some key guys to watch out for, I guess, as we move along. Otherwise, on defense, they're probably running back the same 6 from last year that they finished the year with. Well, you already talked about Zellweger. Lacombe was great. Lacombe was mostly glued to Vetrano and Terry on the power play, which that very well could be power play 1. They kind of had an Olds and a Youngs power play. But the other, I think, new addition that I'm very intrigued by is Chris Kreider. They traded for him. He seems to have a very clear role on this team as a net front power play guy, because Troy Terry was there last year, and their power play just wasn't very good. Now, their power play was coached by Greg Cronin, who was using Cutter Gauthier on neither power play unit, who might have a top 20 shot in the league right now. So, there's certainly more problems than just not having Chris Kreider last year, but I do think he has a very good shot at being the net front guy on the top power play, and it looks like he's basically going completely overlooked right now. If you look at some long-term data on Chris Kreider, he's this top. You can see him top of the second line. He is an above-average fantasy producer. Last year he had a down year. He's getting older. That very well could be the case, but I think there's a bit of meat on the bone with Chris Kreider in fantasy circles, because I just don't see them, going to war with, I don't know, Frank Vetrano as net front guy. I think Chris Kreider's it. So any other thoughts on the Ducks here as a team?
I'll give 3. Number 1, with the unsigned players, it really feels like that's just the way this GM is going to operate, of the cutthroat mentality. I win, you lose. We'll see if it works out. It's at least on one end, he's not a spineless coward like Kevin Adams. On the other, it's going to ruffle some feathers and maybe lead to some trades. Number 2, I think the problem with the Ducks power play last year is it kind of felt like, well, A, their coach was an idiot, and B, they didn't have enough guys to play the roles that they wanted them to play to run the style they wanted to run. And now it feels like they do, like you're saying, with Kreider, with a guy like Granlund. I think that they actually could have 2 cohesive power plays. It does make me a little bit nervous that there's clearly going to be times when Vetrano and Terry are clicking, and that is the first unit over the board. It's not always going to be Cutter. It's not always going to be McTavish. That does make me nervous. Obviously, these aren't an exact science. They have not had a single practice yet. But there's a lot of players being drafted on the freaking Anaheim Ducks compared to some other teams that are much better. And I do think the Ducks will be interesting. I do think they'll be a better team, but they're pushing some chips into the table. And are they actually going to get there? How many players can actually eat is the question. There's a lot of exciting young players. Who is actually going to get there? Buyer beware on every one of these guys for that reason. But again, if a couple of these guys do, no one's going very early. So definitely could find yourself a couple of league winners in there.
Yeah. And just for full transparency, what we're looking at here, and I'm sure people have been staring at this for a bit. First 3 columns are underdog, ADP, positional rank, and last year's underdog points per game scoring. So, for example, Frank Vetrano led the team in per game scoring. Jackson Lacombe was their best per game defense scorer. That all makes sense. These 3 columns are last year's NHL index stats, I call them, where basically I'm not putting their points per 60, I'm putting their indexed stats relative to everyone in the league at the similar age to them. So, for example, someone who's super young might be judged a bit differently than someone who's in their prime, just based on them outperforming their competition. So, keep in mind that means Cutter Gauthier was actually pretty good on a per 60 basis in terms of getting fantasy points without power play time for long stretches of the season. We remember he didn't score for his first 100 shot attempts last year. Just a crazy bad run for Cutter Gauthier, and he was still decent. He was actually, if you managed to get him into the playoffs, he was actually pretty useful for you in the playoff times. So, there's a little bit of something there. Obviously, his shot rate was immaculate because he's a shooter first and foremost. And then lastly is last year's primary points index. where Jackson Lacombe was awesome. He was about double the rate of a normal defender, about age 23, 24 he is, which, obviously he had a great year and got a lot of offensive accolades for it. In this yellow section, I have some minor league data. That's the NCAA, the AHL, the CHL, if relevant. Basically, what's the most recent year that we have outside the NHL? That helps us get a grasp of, okay, was this player any good? Were they just a guy? That's kind of what this is designed to do, especially for fantasy purposes, where we see in the NCAA in 2023, Jackson Lacombe was literally just a guy. He was just an average offensive player who just so happened to break out in the NHL 2 years later. So good for him. Very interesting. And then finally, a couple columns with their prospect status. Where were they drafted? And did Corey Pronman rank them last year in his little top 150 players under 23 analysis he does? So that's what we're looking at for every team. I feel like that's worth sharing just because,
good.
I think it's all useful and it's all fun to look at the very least. So it'll help us do this preview.
Yeah, no, it like I said, there's a lot of guys buyer beware, and then it's like, well, how do I pick then? What do I buy on? And it's like, well, probably the guys that are, showing to have the most promise, have shown to have that level of promise, that shown that propensity of shooting and continue that onward or have found it now. So again, iCourse for 60, etc. Like these are ways to find guys that are going to get points in the system, maybe more so than others, or etc. So great synopsis. We can move over to the Boston Bruins. And what is brewing in Boston? You may be asking. Well, hopefully not the playoffs if you're a Sabres fan. What is funny is even though this team looks pretty bad, like I mean they have, I think, the same odds, if not, no, they're better than the Sabres to make the playoffs, which is just truly disgusting. I'll read off the playoff odds as we go through too. I guess I could pull that up quickly. But yeah, this Bruins team has the 5.9 ADP and then just a bunch of dudes. There's some guys that I was actually like, as we look through this, I was like, oh crap, like is McAvoy kind of interesting? I think yes. Is Morgan Geekie a guy that I been punching air about not taking instead of Zach Benson? Of course, like look at what he did last year and look at the role he's just going to have and look at the contract they gave him and understand what he was before this year, and it clicked. Is it going to click again? I don't know, but it's worth a buy in the last round. So an interesting team, maybe not a ton of players to really go over, but is there anybody outside of kind of those main three that you want to touch on in general?
Yeah, you touched on it. The Boston's defense is actually, I think, kind of fine. Zadorov, Jokiharju is your third pair. Yeah, Andrew Peak's probably not a second pair guy, but Zadorov, Jokiharju are probably going to play 18, 19 minutes a night anyway. So it's just going to be the Lindholm McAvoy show for 24, 25 minutes a night. If they can stay healthy, that's a huge boon to their chances this season. In fantasy circles, Charlie McAvoy is perfectly fine. Like you said, he's there. He's going at D26 currently, which feels about right. I mean, Mason Lohrei could be the power play one guy over him, but it kind of feels like that ship might have sailed. He was pretty poor last year. Got a bunch of run, obviously, with the McAvoy and Lindholm injuries. It just didn't really show much offensively. So I would be totally fine going back to the well on Charlie McAvoy. We look at the 3 years prior to last year, and he was an awesome point producer and a pretty decent fantasy guy as well, being slightly above average in those two categories. Otherwise, you're looking at they added to their bottom six, which obviously doesn't matter for fantasy. And their second line is not that relevant. And that top line is just pretty good, whether it's Lindholm or Geekie or Middlestat centering it. Pasternak and Geekie are almost certainly going to be staples there. And yes, like you said, if you take Pasta, you should probably be considering Morgan Geekie in the late rounds. We do suspect that stacking will be more important because more players are scoring each week than in prior years, where only 6 players scored on your team. Now 7 do. Therefore, if you have a guy who lights it up, say David Pasternak, it's more likely that him dragging his teammates along with him who don't quite reach the level he does will have, good weeks, good enough weeks to score for your roster. So that is the exact sort of player that we're looking to buy on, I think, in Morgan Geeky before he gets into, the 100 ADP range. But we'll see. Who knows if he gets there? This team is pretty bad on paper, but I think David Pastrnak is good enough. Lindholm McAvoy is good enough to lift them to be somewhat fantasy relevant.
Yep. Since I missed it, the Ducks are plus 250 to make the playoffs, minus 340 on the no. And the Boston Bruins, Matt, I'm going to have you guess. What is the guess? What is the no on them to make the playoffs? Point total is not on there now.
They are plus 375 to make the playoffs.
Plus 450.
Yeah, they're not getting much respect from Vegas.
No, I don't think they're as bad as Vegas thinks. I definitely don't think I'm biting on that number. Earlier today it was 3-1 for the Sabres to make the playoffs. Now it is plus 280. So the sharp minds have seen my tweet and jumped on to the Buffalo Sabres to finally make the playoffs. Bandwagon, Vegas shifting the numbers. You love to see it. Here we are with the team. God, I don't want to talk about, but we must. There is a lot of interesting fantasy numbers. I think I'm okay. Yeah, I did that. I did the thing. Yep, we can make fun of me in a minute. He is bad. He did not get there, but I think. Well, I mean, again, like he's like 14 years old, right? I mean, look at him. He looks like he's 14. So whatever. We'll see what happens. But Tage Thompson, I kind of banged the drum on the show. I think he's like a bit undervalued at that spot, especially as I think centers begin to rise. He just is one of the few players in the league that has that 50 goal upside in him and did it last year almost without much power play luck. The team as a whole didn't have much, but he definitely didn't. So like if this team is any good at all, which I'm not even saying playoffs, like if they're just around that mark, he's probably leading the charge in a large capacity. The concern is the centers are very bad. Can that help carry other guys along with him? And can Yuri Kulik break out in the way that I know we both are optimistic and hopefully could?
I don't know. I mean, Tage is effectively a center. He just didn't play center much last year because of the wrist injury he had. And honestly, I thought Yuri Kulik was pretty good. So he's a former first rounder. He has pedigree still. He's on that Pronman rankings list. He produced in the AHL at age 19 the year before last year. And then he showed up in the NHL and was, again, pretty good. He was an above average point and shot producer. I think there's enough there that if Tage is playing center, if Kulik is playing center, you still kind of have a top line center regardless. Josh Norris, we know when he's healthy, he's a good player. It's can he stay healthy? Ryan McLeod is an absolute luxury as your 3C. He had a great close to last year offensively, and obviously some of that's shooting percentage driven, but I don't know. You talk about a team that goes out and doesn't really lose much besides JJ Peterka. They bring in Kesselring and Doan in that trade. Josh Doan, son of Shane Doan for those uninitiated. Pretty decent prospect, though. Former second rounder, really good AHL stats last year, and even decent NHL stats. His defensive numbers were much better than these even in the NHL last season. They also grabbed Justin Danforth, Connor Timmins, and Alex Lyon. So, I don't think they lost much. I do think they actually added around the edges. And Michael Kesselring is a guy who isn't really fantasy relevant. He does shoot a bunch. So in DFS specifically, when you're paying $2,500 for a guy or $3K, he could be pretty useful if he's playing 20 minutes a night. But in true fantasy sicko mode, I don't think there's much, like you're not drafting him underdog or whatever, or in your fantasy leagues. So yeah, I mean, the Sabres should be pretty decent. We know exactly where the production will come from. Dahlin, Tage, and then the power play guys like Tuck and Norris. I don't really think Josh Norris should be undrafted in any drafts. But it's just a matter of, do you have enough center certainty to take the upside swing on a guy who is just as likely to miss a couple of games in the playoffs as he is to, light it up for you at that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've all had the Josh Norris discussion, I'm sure in our inner circles. I mean, every year it feels like it's like, man, if this guy played 82 games. He could be a fantasy monster, and it just hasn't even really been close. And last year, it's like, no, it's not my shoulder. I tore my oblique, and it's like, okay, yeah, sure. It makes me feel, I guess, better, but like, I don't know. It's like at some point you just got to stop. Maybe going down that rabbit hole. And on the other side, if it's the last pick and it's your final guy in, we know this guy has 30 goal upside without even all of that coming on the power play. He may have 40 goal upside. He's still pretty young, and he was given the contract for a reason. Originally with Ottawa.
And
so
the role JJ Peterka vacated was the exact role Josh Norris had in Ottawa when he was scoring all those goals. So I think you clearly have an alpha on the power play across from Tage and next to Dahlin. Yep. That's a good spot to be in. So yeah,
do you have
please stay healthy, Norris.
Jason Zucker before we move on? I mean, obviously, the other guys are obvious. Like Rasmus Dahlin, do we really need to talk much about the clear top 5 defensemen in the league? And he's at the 5 mark right now. But like, this is a guy that I think is actually draftable. Zucker.
I thought about him, but you look at last year, and I feel like last year was pretty much a ceiling for him. Like, he was so good relative to expectations, and he still only managed just over 6 underdog points per game. It's not nothing. I would love a better way to, if I could have all this information, I'll try to build something where on this tab I have all this information and I can go through the entire rankings. But I just feel like there are going to be better options that last year had more than 6.2 underdog points per game, because obviously in Buffalo, the power play won. Jason Zucker's not a guarantee for it the way that Tage and Dahlin are. So you're kind of having to make multiple bets. And even if you're right, does it really matter? I kind of think the answer is no. So
Zach Benson's coming for that spot, baby.
So stupid.
He's a legitimately good player, and he's just as bad as fantasy, and that just is what
doesn't matter.
All right, Carolina Hurricanes. Guess their odds to make the playoffs.
Well, they added Nick Ehlers, they added K'Andre Miller, they lost Brent Burns, and they lost Dmitry Orlov. Their odds to make the playoffs are minus 2,500.
Minus 1,200.
Okay. So I was like 3% more certain than Vegas is.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of feels like, I mean, you watch a classic Hollywood romance, and it's like, well, obviously this couple's getting together in the end, and Nikolai Ehlers going to Carolina felt like that was just going to happen, and it's like, what is the wait? And then it happened. So Ehlers, it feels like the perfect, putting the perfect glove right on or whatever with Aho and Jarvis. He gets his power play 1 role that he's obviously coveting, and feels like a smash. ADP is reflecting the potential role that has never really been there, and he's gotten there in 5-on-5 in such a great way in the past. So yeah, I mean, I like this team. I think this is going to be a really interesting core. Like, I mean, this is less players getting drafted than the Ducks, but that kind of makes sense for Carolina, right? So very concentrated, but a bit higher ceiling on the top line. But then you get down the line of it, and it's like, who could you take? So let's start top line. Any thoughts with these kind of top 4 power play guys before we get into some, Nikishin guys?
Yeah, reading the tea leaves on Nick Ehlers, they've already pretty much slotted him alongside Aho, both power play and 5-on-5. I posted some of the quotes from either the beat writer or from the GM in our Discord already, so that I feel pretty confident in. We know that he's a guy, when he's on the ice, he will produce. He is a more productive per minute player than both Seth Jarvis and Sebastian Aho. And he's moving from having Vladislav Nemesnikov and Adam Lowry and the corpse of Paul Stastny and just not very great centers to having a truly great center in Sebastian Aho. I think there's a chance that this could be Jackson Blake instead of Seth Jarvis on the top line. If Jackson Blake gets his way onto the top power play, I would be, I think, decently interested. I was actually surprised to see that he only averaged 4.5 underdog points a game last year. Now, obviously, not all of that time he spent was with the Aho line, so that matters context wise. But on a permanent basis, he wasn't great. He was okay. He does have a decent profile, so I don't know. Jackson Blake was a guy who I thought I might think is sneaky, but now I just might wait until training camp and see it for certain. I don't feel great about Svechnikov at 109, in all honesty. I'll cede to you in just a moment, but I think I'd almost rather take a stab at Stankoven because we know Logan Stankoven has such good prospect pedigree. He dominated the AHL. He comes over midseason from Dallas, where obviously they have a bunch of depth. In Carolina, can he carve out a role in the top six? If so, I think he has massive upside. He's shown it in the playoffs with goal scoring touch. That I almost prefer taking a swing on him, at the end of drafts versus getting Svechnikov in the middle. Any thoughts there?
I think I agree in that scope of like Stankoven is a really, really good ad late. He definitely profiles to be a guy that if he is getting there and has that spike potential, the shot volume, hopefully follows the AHL numbers, that's really going to be the main hope there. And it should, if he gets a big enough role. Everything after the top line and even really the top line with Jarvis feels a bit of a question mark. And if it ends up being a situation where they can trade for another center, I know GA was talking about like, man, that second, like there could be a feasible second line here that makes a lot of sense. But who is taking that last spot? Is it going to be Blake? Or could it be Stankoven, right? I mean, do we get into training camp and they just paid Stankoven a whole bunch of money? Maybe they actually see him as that last guy in with Ehlers and Aho. Maybe that is the role that Ehlers, what does he do well? He carries the puck. He can distribute. Can Stankoven be a guy that can find, nooks and crannies, littler guy that has good shot volume? Like maybe that is the final fit in the puzzle there in that top line. And you're sitting here just dancing at 179.9 ADP, just finding a guy that could in theory be top line, top power play. Probably not, but maybe at least top line. So big fan of that. I think Svechnikov is totally justifiable where he's going. And I don't think he's going to fall very much because of the number 2 overall pick. And we've seen it with him and we know the volume can be there in the right circumstances, but it does make me really nervous that he just doesn't seem to have a chance at being with Aho, and it hasn't really worked out anyways. So who is he playing with? I mean, how is he getting there at 5-on-5? Not going to be an easy path for him, but he certainly is still draftable, of course, and at where he's going right now. So it'd be interesting. It's a really interesting team.
Yeah. Tom gets at the Galbraith theory that I think is at least an outside shot if they can't manage to trade for a replacement for Kotkaniemi, is Seth Jarvis at the 2C spot. I tried to find documentation of this and I didn't actually, but I could have sworn Jarvis came in playing center. I think that's just wrong, quite frankly. So maybe he just isn't cut out to be a center in this league, but I thought there was a chance that he could play center. And that if he were the 2C and then you sort of have a top 6 of Ehlers, Aho, Blake, Svechnikov, Jarvis, Stankoven, like that would be very cool. And then you leave Stahl and Martinuk with, an Eric Robinson or Hall or whoever to just fight off the best competition for one more year of Stahl's career. That would be quite interesting. But I think the last point of intrigue on this team is at defense. Shane Gostisbehere is going perpetually undrafted. He is almost certainly locked into a power play 1 job. ... Unless Alexander Nikishin comes in and takes that job from him, who actually, I think he's Alex Nikishin in Pronman's thing. So I'll take a look at that in a second. But DJ, any interest in Gostisbehere late in drafts or taking a swing on Nikishin?
Swing at either of them. I mean, this is the type of guy you want to swing at. These are the guys that produce big fantasy points and numbers. And when it comes to Nikishin, we're talking about a guy that was a once in a generation type of KHL player that played there a little bit longer than even he needed to, just because of the contracts and the rush of it all. I mean, again, don't need to get into it. I don't know all the details, but comes over to America and taking a little bit of time to maybe get fully acclimated to the NHL game. Look good at stretches, but it's a pretty impressive offensive type of guy that has a very, very good shot from the point that might be a bit more upside than Gostisbehere. as far as a shot, propensity to shoot the puck. So I'm really excited about either of them though, because the spike weeks could be really good. If they do get a lot of power play 1 point production in a week, it could score you a defense in a week that gets a little bit lower. So a good third ad, these are the guys you want to buy on good teams.
Yeah. I don't. So I think what happened is Nikishin turned 23. I think right before the Pronman list came out last year. Therefore, he wasn't under 23. For the purposes of that, I could be wrong, but we see here in this article from a couple years ago now. But he's done nothing but smash since then. Nikishin was like one of those guys where obviously he didn't get drafted early, but you read like people who know the KHL, and it's like, yeah, this dude was an offensive juggernaut. He has an absolute cannon from the point. He's just a good, solid player with massive upside as like a true hockey player. And when you take a look at his KHL numbers, I'll have to put together last year's. Like I said, the cat thing kind of took what I was going to do today and pull those 2025 KHL stats for you. But like his fantasy numbers in the KHL were extraordinary. And he's still young enough where I think he could still develop and get better, which would help him in the transition to the NHL. So we're looking at a guy with massive upside who could take Gossesbear's job. I just don't know if I'm ready to project that yet at this point in time.
He would have been like 1,300 in KHL DFS. Like the guy was like, he was like, oh, he didn't have 3 points and 5 shots on goal tonight. Like, what the hell was he doing? Like, Moscow must have given him a little vodka on the bench after he scored his second point or something. So yeah, definitely. We got to keep, we're going to go on for 7 years. So Columbus.
Yeah, actually, the goaltending situation is crazy in Carolina. Can you take either of these guys, given they're both going in the top 30 ADP wise, but they're going to win a ton of games? Like, any thoughts there?
I mean, I'm trying to avoid them at all costs, but if I grow a spine, it's Korchekov. I just believe in him a little bit more. He's got to get out of his own head. He seems like a true basket case, but we can move over to Columbus. A team that I feel like everyone looked at and was like, man, pretty surprisingly good, even though not that good. They might add someone. They got a ton of cap space, and they're like, oh, baby, we're going to go out there. We're going to re-sign Provorov and Fabro to $1 million bajillion. We're going to get Charlie Coyle and Miles Wood, baby. We're back. And it's like,
hey, do not put Fabro in that same category. Fabro's contract is fine. The other three, absolutely abysmal.
It's just like, I feel like, I mean, I'm not going to, they're not done yet. And a huge problem for them last year was injury related. Monahan going down, Jenner. I mean, how many games did he play? Not many. It did not help in any capacity. So yeah, it's a really, really, it's going to be an interesting team to discuss. That's for sure.
Yeah. Their top 6 pretty much is going to be what it was last year. I would be very surprised if Coyle or Chinikov really made them sweat at all there. So we're still talking about Adam Fantilli as like this, possible breakout candidate. He's being drafted like it though, which is a bit concerning to me because they've simply shown no interest in featuring him. They were forced to feature him when Monahan got hurt for a month there, and it was great. But otherwise, he was on the power play too for almost the entire year. He never got a real look with Marchenko, who's like their number 1 wing. So I'm a little skeptical on these prices. In all honesty, can Zach Werenski do it again? He was awesome last year, but that was definitely a one-time thing. Like he's not been nearly as good prior to that. Still a very good player, but not D3, not 22 ADP levels of good. So, I'm a little cautious on the Columbus stuff. I do think Boone Jenner, though, is worth a look. I mean, he's going, again, really, really late, center 47, averaged almost 8 fantasy points a game coming back. He just does it all. He's a 4-category beast. He'll block shots, he'll hit people. So, and he's probably getting power play looks. That could change, but he's one of those guys, net front, that makes a lot of sense for this team.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I said we'd go through and hopefully mention some of our best takes and worst takes. And I feel like Marchenko was one of my best takes. Then you kind of fought me on it a little bit, and I didn't capitulate entirely, but I do think that was one of those where sometimes you try to see something from a mile away and you get rewarded. And again, like I think the Columbus problem last year was everyone was so unbelievably low, of course, for very sad reasons with the passing of Johnny Gaudreau. And it just felt like this team had not a lot of hope to be dynamically, produce at a dynamic rate. And then we find this top line just clicked on all cylinders, which originally, as you mentioned, hurt Adam Fantilli because he just couldn't find that major role. But we know what he can do when he gets it. So I'm interested. I think that Fantilli, like you said, it's going a little early than maybe he should, given what we see here. But I don't know if I have a problem really taking a stab at any player other than, I think Werenski's just a bit early. And I don't want to say I like Dahlin more because Zach Werenski just did what he did, but kind of feels like a bit of a 22, you're giving up quite a big opportunity cost when you can get Dahlin 13 picks later. I'm in on everything else. I don't have an issue with anyone really in the top 6 being driving. Voronkov still a little bit tougher to actually take and feel good about, but everyone else is probably draftable. Even Boone Jenner, who really was fine once he came back and was fully, ingrained. And Ken Johnson is a bit tougher because they didn't really shoot, but anything else you want to mention?
Goaltending wise, they did ship off Daniil Tarasov to Florida, so Merzlikins and Jack Reeves have an inside track for the job. If one of them is a clear leader in training camp, I doubt either one of them really rises up. And this team could be pretty decent. I mean, they almost made the playoffs last year. And if you can get an inkling of a starting goalie, this late in drafts, that could be useful. I'm not ready to make a declaration right now, though. I think you can just wait on drafting Columbus goalies.
What are their playoff odds?
Plus 290.
Plus 250 to make the playoffs. Okay. Better than the Sabres. We move on to the Calgary Flames. As you can see by just the quickest of looks, I don't think it's the lowest. I'm almost positive it's not the lowest, but in reality, there are 2 players being drafted in every draft. There are a few guys, as you just added one more, that have been drafted and have an ADP, but 2 guys and a goalie, Dustin Wolf, who this is the first time I will admit was unbelievably wrong. I mean, it sucks to be wrong in the way that I was wrong because Vladar did start the season and did have the net to start the season, and then to just get completely and totally dummied and spanked over the table by Dustin Wolf for months and months and months, as he not only got his win total over, which was my favorite bet, was his under 21.5, and like his 24th start, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, goalies are goalies, and they're gonna get, and like everybody that took that bet that I posted should know better, because me and goalies get along like oil and water. So obviously anything that I'm confident on with goalies is going to go the exact opposite way. I drafted a ton of Vladar. I drafted almost no Dustin Wolf, and it really, really hurt my advancement. I would say that is my biggest mistake, but we're going to go team by team, and we'll judge at the end. Is it worse than drafting Zach Benson in my first draft? Who's to say? But probably yes.
Yeah. From a fantasy standpoint, Kadri, if he stays with this team, he's already in trade talks. He's fine, I guess. He produced last year. Mackenzie Weegar, he's just going to keep surviving. I mean, I was pretty anti-Weegar last year too, and he did it again. So, no, I guess, did he do it again? I don't know. He averaged 8.5 points. That's pretty good. It's not quite Dahlin good, but he's also not at Dahlin's draft position. And I think he was around this last year too. So that's certainly serviceable. What I did want to point out is the season Matt Coronado had was honestly a little disappointing in retrospect. So I don't know. Maybe it's too soon to overreact. Obviously, ignore this. It's 2 AHL games where he was very good. I don't remember him playing in the AHL, but I'm mad for it all over again. And the last guy in, Zane Parekh has talked about, like, he's already made the team. He debuted with them late last season. He got a couple games in and smashed. I will just pour a little bit of caution on that for fantasy purposes. The dude simply does not shoot. He didn't even shoot in the minors. Like, he literally is allergic to shooting in the minors. So that's a little concerning. He's a good player. He's probably going to be a good player, but you need to bet on him making the team. You need to bet on him basically not having to beat Anderson or Uyghur for a power play job because one of them gets traded. Specifically Anderson, who's in trade talks right now. So you need to get a lot of things right, and you need him to do something more than just accumulate points in order to really get there. Because So caution, but he's likely to be a factor and is a very good player. So he could help these other guys, accelerate their offensive outputs. But right now it's pretty bleak forwards wise for the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything clearly wrong. I will be a buyer of Matt Coronado stock if it's available for me to buy. I think he's a good last guy in because I do think that he could continue to find a bigger role. He was one of, if not the clear first guy over the board in 3-on-3 and overtime. Like, they seem to know what he can do and started to push the envelope more and more as the year went on. The shot volume came up, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm optimistic he can continue to grow into that elite rate shooter that we know he has from his time in the NCAA and the short, albeit 2 games and probably
here's a longer sample in the AHL.
A bigger sample of the AHL that he shot the lights out of the puck and produced at a really high rate. So I'm a buyer of his stock. And then Parayka, you could try to say, isn't that what you said about Cole Hudson last year? The guy doesn't have a clear power play 1 role. He doesn't shoot the puck, and look where he ended up. And it's like, it's not quite maybe that level. I do think he has a
for completion's sake. Wayne Hudson wound up with about 6 underdog points per game. That basically Shane Gostisbehere, about a half point better than Gostisbehere for context sake, where basically Wayne Hudson didn't matter in underdog.
I'm not. Yeah, we're going to get into the Lane Hudson situation. Of course, is crazy, but I do think Parayka is tough to really sink your teeth into as your last defenseman in especially at this point. It just seems unnecessary. Even though I do love him as a player, and I am excited to hopefully see him grow into a bigger and better role.
And Lane Hudson's minors was much more offensively appealing from a shot standpoint than Parayka. So I'm just saying, very, very cautious on Parayka's floor here.
So what is their odds to make the playoffs?
Plus 450.
Plus 270.
Yeah, no thanks.
And that minus 350. Okay, Chicago.
Bedard, Donato. Anyone else? They didn't really add anyone somehow. They didn't.
Know me. If you know me, then you know I'm clicking the Spencer Knight button, because goalies don't matter, and I am not a coward, and I believe that Spencer Knight will steal. There's going to be a week where he wins 3 games and gets the NHL #1 star of the week, and you are just going to be heeing and hawing as your third goalie just nukes everybody else to oblivion. That being said, that's it. I think if you're not thinking it or wanting to ask it, you should be. If there's one defenseman, is there 0 defensemen and just say none?
There's I think 0 defensemen.
Okay, I think that's probably correct. I do. Yeah, I think if you're clicking the button is Levchinov, but I
think we saw enough from Levchinov to know that he's just not going to be a difference maker. So there's no point in betting on Chicago. Just take Bedard, take Donato, take Spencer Knight, and then just take 3 other defensemen. Just if you really want to be a slappy, that's how you should slap. Just don't be like, oh, actually Sam Rinzel's gonna be. Just stop.
Yeah, I know.
It's fine.
Listen, I played Sam Rinzel at 2,500 at DFS like the rest of us, but you don't have to draft him in best buck.
Wait,
finally, what are their odds?
You played DFS? I don't recall.
I played a lot. I just kind of gave up on the playoffs. I was just sick of doing it every night. But
plus 800.
Double it, plus 1,600 to make the playoffs. Okay. They are not bullish on our Blackhawks, unsurprisingly. Yeah. I mean, again, off-season moves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing.
We're on to the next.
Burakovsky.
Who cares? I mean, I think if you hate yourself and you don't like money and like the way it on Flair, you could take him over Zach Benson. Burakovsky.
Colorado. Colorado added Brent Burns. They re-signed Brock Nelson. Otherwise, the top 6 is the top 6, and we're running it back, baby. Their goalie situation appears settled. So Mackenzie Blackwood, goalie 6. If people were drafting Georgiev last year, you might have some battle scars. I believe I was one of those people. I've not looked at my exposures to him, but I think I was above the field on Georgiev. So, we know Colorado's not afraid to make a change in goal if needed. Cale Makar would go. Nate McKinnon, the 101. What are your thoughts on the Colorado Avalanche and their studs?
Yeah, we'll go right in order. So first and foremost, the Lehkonen of it all is incredibly interesting to me. I was really high on him last year. He was good when he played. I will be buying once again on Lehkonen, especially very late in drafts. Marty Necas, I'm all the way in on. He's going to be glued to McKinnon. And I don't think I love McKinnon as the 101. I think I still lean McDavid personally. We know what McDavid can do in the ceiling capacity, which is like nobody else. McKinnon was the best player last year in the underdog scoring. Good for him. But yeah, I think I'm kind of thinking McDavid should be the 101. And then it's hard to argue McKinnon's not 2, but we can have that argument at another time. I know we're a bit lower on the guy than most, but kind of undeniable that he's going to continue to be good in this scoring system that rewards guys that throw biscuits at the goalie for no good reason. And occasionally they go in the net because he is really good at hockey.
Okay. And his running mate, Marty Necas, feels a touch early for me as well.
Yeah. I think 40. Necas a bit early. I honestly think that Valerie Nertushin is a little bit late. I could buy in on that. Like, he will score in all categories, and he seems really good in the top power play. The question is, what will the top power play be? Is it going to be Landeskog? Is he going to find a threat? I mean, I'm not drafting him personally, especially at 130. Too many red flags for me to want to jump on it.
It's worth noting, Landeskog before his injury might have had the best season of his career, which, he's not a super old guy, but he's had a lot of good years in the NHL. He was, simply put, awesome. So, production wise, he has that in his bag. Does he reach into it for a full 82 game season? That might include him representing Sweden in the Olympics. I don't know. People were drafting him last year, and obviously it didn't work because he never played in the regular season. But there were people doing it this year, obviously. I just don't see it personally. Like you said, I'd much rather take a swing on Val. I'd much rather take a swing on Lehkonen than Landeskog and Necas for that matter. What helps Necas is he's the only righty wing here. Nichushkin, Landeskog, and Lehkonen are all lefties. So it feels like Necas is locked into the top line, but I don't think it's as firm a grip as pick 40 would indicate. Because if he's out in the top line, that should be pick 110. So it's a little bit much. It kind of feels like Zach Hyman-ish to me that he's a pick 40 here when he's not really the driver of his own offense, which is a bit unfair to him given he dragged Eric Robinson to relevance last year for a stretch in Carolina. But I think that was some shooting percentage bender involved there.
Yeah. All right. I mean, remember when people were legitimately the Marty Necas is better than Mikko Rantanen? That was a real thing people were going after. And I was like, you need to all stop this before you look real stupid. And then they did. One thing that I will say is that the year before Georgiev smashed in Best Puck, I was completely anti-Georgiev to such a high degree. I was like, this guy is very bad. I do not like. I want to go back and find the clip of me just going off about it.
I was so in on him that year.
And then he was good. And then I was like, I don't like him, but you just have to simply click the button and plug your nose, I think, occasionally.
When he was terrible.
And I didn't have a lot of him because people were I mean, I just think there's just a high number of Colorado Avalanche fans because they were so good. They were just good for like ever. It feels they had a couple down years, but I feel like I didn't get as much as I thought. I went back and looked, and it wasn't quite as high. But I was like, damn, like I knew I just was too early. And the goalie guys were like, boy, we can't let DJB right yet.
Yeah.
So yeah,
shout out to Ross Colton. He's a baller. Just 6.5 points a game. With nobody as a line mate last year. Remember Ross Colton playing with McKinnon for like 2 weeks? That was fun.
And he did everything, and he scored every night, and he won me a bunch of money.
Awesome.
And then as soon as I went all the way in on him, he broke my heart because his odds were all messed up the one night. Anyways, though, what are their odds to make the playoffs?
Minus 750.
Minus 900.
Okay. Dallas. Dallas Stars moved out Mason Marchment. They moved in Faxa, and they lost Dumba for Kolyachinook. I think that's about it.
That's about it.
Yeah, their top line feels pretty much locked in. Hintz, Robertson, Rantanen. Lines 2 and 3 are a little bit interesting because I think there's a chance that a couple forwards here are relevant. It's most likely Wyatt Johnston is relevant outside the top line. But honestly, if you told me Maverick Bourque, Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, Matt Duchene, and I had to pick one or two of them, I'm not sure I would be picking Matt Duchene. Right now, I think that's the most likely situation where they just use Steele as their 3C and they put Johnston and Duchene in the top 6, with one of them playing wing, of course, with Tyler Seguin. But yeah, I mean, Tyler Seguin could never play again. Like, the stuff he has to do to get ready for a season is apparently obnoxious. So does he just sit out and come back for the playoffs? That's all in the cards, I think. So keep an eye on that news. There's nothing right now to it, but it's a possibility. But yeah, thoughts on the Stars here?
I forgot it. I just had to readjust because my green screen fell. Number one thing is, where would Mikko Rantanen be going if it wasn't for if they lost that round 1 to Colorado? I feel like Rantanen, like he didn't have that game 7 and he didn't win that game. You know what I mean? Like I feel like he would have been going in like the late 20s. And like I agree with where he's going. I'm not arguing really, but I do worry a touch about taking him at 10. I don't want to argue with anybody. Anyone wants to argue, but like he feels a little thin at 10 to me. Just the way Dallas wants to play. But then again, if this is a top line, then it does click. And maybe it just, maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into things, but I feel like 10 feels hard.
Maybe the biggest change they made was actually they fired Pete DeBoer and they brought in Glenn Gulletson.
What is that going to do?
Pete DeBoer is pretty notorious for not overtaxing his skaters. Obviously, defensemen, I guess. So forwards. He's pretty notorious for not overtaxing the forwards. Whereas Gulletson, he has his own coaching history. I don't know much about it. Like he was in Dallas actually before Lindy Ruff, fun fact. But he comes from Edmonton where they have no problem playing, Connor McDavid 28 minutes a night. So it seems possible that Rantanen, could get a bit more time on ice than is currently being anticipated. He had a down year last year in the regular season. So that's, like you said, his playoff performance and his long-term performance are certainly what's keeping him afloat at pick 10. But I do think there's still some upside there. I mean, you're talking about him beating, Kaprizov, Brady Tkachuk, like in order to make it so that if you're taking him at pick 7, those are the two guys he kind of has to beat out. And I think that makes it totally fine. Like, it's not a great bet. It's not a bad bet. It's just a fine bet. If you want to make it, I'll be taking him pretty much at 10. I don't think I'll reach ahead with Kaprizov or anything to grab Rantanen, but I'm also not, taking Kyle Connor ahead of him or anything like that. So this feels about right to me. J-Rob, I think might be the guy that I'm more interested in though, at say pick, 19, 20, maybe with Rantanen at pick 15 if I get super frisky, because we know the story of J-Rob. He was just hurt. He had a foot issue going into the year. He really struggled after that. He turned it on in the playoffs against Edmonton. He was their best skater, in my opinion. I think he was getting healthier as the season went on. He is motivated to make Team USA for the Olympics. And Hintz, Rantanen, Robertson, I think, could be the best line in the league this year. And Robertson actually strikes me as their most dangerous offensive player. So I think that could be it if he doesn't get traded, because why wouldn't he be in trade talks? Because nothing is fun. We can't have fun things.
I mean, I think that ship is not really leaving the port, but we'll see, I guess. I mean, the Athletic needs to discuss something at this point, and Jason Robertson is unfortunately going to have to be talked about. But yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. I like Robertson a bit more at AEP than Rantanen is the point here. I mean, I love Miro's ADP as well, but we don't need to go to. If we go up this long on every team, we're gonna never get to bed tonight. And one more thing.
If Miro and Harley, I mean, the wars are just over. I mean, the Thomas Harley ship is just so far south that it's fine. But man, I'm not jumping out of bed to draft Harley at D15. I'll tell you that much.
The only Syracuse native that is somehow Canadian. What are the odds to make the playoffs?
Minus 1,200.
Minus 900, same as Colorado. We move over to the Detroit Rock City. I'll get it right off the bat here. Plus 260 to make the playoffs. Better than Buffalo. I mean, why not, right? Almost the same odds. The never-ending Dylan Larkin debate of is this guy actually a number one center or not continues onward into the following season, where he will once again be tasked as a number one center for the Detroit Red Wings, who haven't made the playoffs in quite some time after making it, I think, every year of my life until I was ready to drive. Detroit is last year, I kind of went into the year banging the Lucas Raymond drum. The beat got loud. The continuous rise of Raymond continued to get to a point that was tough to get him at, and it's kind of starting the year off at a similar spot. So there's a few guys here that are very clear-cut top echelon fantasy players. Sider is a tough click for me at D8. I think he's going a little bit early, but I do understand the ancillary stats and the conceivable role that he has as a top power play guy could put him in a situation of Mackenzie Weegar plus. So I see where you draft Sider. I see, where you're looking at a Raymond and a Larkin and saying that if this team is actually any good, we know where it's coming from. I struggle to find any player on this team that's truly mispriced or someone that I don't know how. I mean, Marco Kasper's problem is he's a center, and I feel like there's probably better options, but I do really like him, and I think it's at least a look. Everyone else is just, again, I feel like they're just going maybe a tad early. So it's a tough click on any of them right now.
I've already talked a lot about Detroit in the Discord with Count MC Mano, who's the local Detroit boy for us. So I fully fleshed out some thoughts, but ultimately for fantasy, I was surprised. I think DeBrincat had a better year than I gave credit for mentally. I think that's in large part due to Marco Kasper being a certified baller. When he joined that second line, he just elevated them to such a high level. DeBrincat was not a power play one fixture 2 years ago. Somehow, far be it to believe that bringing in a competent head coach might have helped Detroit. DeBrincat could be a buy at 71. But I don't mind Raymond. I think I'm a little more excited by DeBrincat, though, given his long-term prowess and what I think is a more rounded fantasy output capability.
Do you remember what he was going last year? Do you remember? I feel like he's going earlier than that. Right?
I don't know. I have no idea. We can.
It doesn't matter.
We can revisit that at some point.
Yeah, not a lot down the depth chart to really consider, and I'm a Gibson guy. I still believe in John Gibson being okay, like an absolute idiot. So he's gonna suck. Edmonton.
Yeah, I'm not sure who starts, in all honesty.
No, I mean,
That's
Talbot's
tricky.
super old. They traded for Gibson. Costa's coming. They have that other guy that went back to Michigan State, I believe, actually. So we could just keep it moving, like you're alluding to. Funny enough, I mean, how long do we need to talk about Edmonton is going to be? I think it's McDavid is my 101. Like I said, makes a lot of sense. He's the best player in the world. Leon Draisaitl is just top 5. Were we wrong to assume he was bad before? I guess we were real low on him, and he made us eat that one. That's another one of those big mistakes. The Matt 2 year ago debate on if Evan Bouchard is better than Miro Heiskanen is just paid off in spades. All the stock Matt bought in Evan Bouchard is, worth more than Apple at this point. I mean, I think Bouchard is better than defenseman 4. Like, I think he's better than Werenski. So I'm not Makar, but I wonder if he's not 2 or 3. So yeah, I'm really interested in obviously grabbing some of that top 3. I can see why you buy back in on Zach Hyman, and let's hear if you have anything else to add.
My primary point of interest on this team isn't really McDavid or Draisaitl or Hyman or Bouchard. It's, are they actually going to find a good young player in Matthew Savoy or Isaac Howard? Because throughout this McDavid Draisaitl run, we really haven't had that. Zach Hyman was brought in from Toronto. Nugent Hopkins was already there. So are we going to find the next forward to carry the Edmonton Oilers? Isaac Howard, this 2025 year was basically the first year he was very good in college, which is interesting. You look at the year before and it wasn't that good. Matthew Savoy was fine in the AHL last year. We looked at guys like Matt Coronado, who were just significantly better than this. But like, those two guys have a lot of hype around them. So if they can live up to that hype, you could very quickly find a guy who's playing alongside Leon Draisaitl and is actually able to keep up with him, unlike, Podkolzin, Arvidsson, Kapanen, Skinner, like those guys who we thought could be good, but just, didn't really do much for fantasy. Like, we could find ourselves an actual useful fantasy guy in that realm. I'm not buying it personally, but I do think that's one of the most interesting things heading into this season.
Like Howard is starting with Edmonton. He's not going back to Michigan State, right? That's confirmed.
I believe he's signed. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's signed and he's playing there. I was gonna look that up before and I forgot. So I do think that's the assumption there. If anyone knows in the comments for 100%, leave a like and a comment. Yeah, no, I think it's I like Isaac Howard. I like what he can the profile that we saw last year. Obviously, is incredibly enticing. He was the best player in college hockey, Hobey Baker winner. Was clearly Michigan State was filthy, and it was really him. It felt like that was the big driver of that. So I'm excited to see what he can't do. With Leon Draisaitl, maybe McDavid. I wonder what they end up with. But the problem there is the Jeff Skinner problem and the Victor Arvidsson problem. Only you're not paying the premium to get him. He's not going to be on that first power play. I don't see just can't even find a way that he gets there. That really hurts his upside. But as a last guy in, he could spike with Leon or McDavid for sure if he's in the top 6.
And I like Nuge betting on a bounce back. You look at the 3 years before last, and he was decent. Last year was definitely a down year, but the role should be there. The ADP makes sense, and the power play role is almost locked in. So I like Nuge, even with these young guys coming in. Stu Skinner, feels like an easy buy. I know it's risky, but all goalies are risky. Like, Kel Pickard is not going to get 45 starts for this team. So Stu Skinner's getting the lion's share of starts for Edmonton, assuming health, and they're going to win a lot of games. So I don't know. It feels a little reactive.
I'm trying to remember what I listen to so many freaking podcasts that I can't remember. I think it was The Athletic when they were with Gentili and Sean McIndoe. They were talking about what if the goalie that everyone thinks they're going to trade for that's going to start the year really hot is just Stuart Skinner? Like, what if he does jump out to a hot start and he's not that old. It's not like this is a Grizzly veteran. Like he's pretty young. Like I definitely think it's a buy. It just sucks to have to do it, and they are minus. They're minus 1,000. So to make the playoffs.
DJ, we've done exactly 1/3 of the NHL. Who could have guessed? Do you want to do a draft?
Yeah, we might as well get into the draft.
All right, people. Let's join a lobby. Yeah, we'll do this over the next couple weeks. I don't think much will change. One person, hurry.
Oh, it's not me.
Oh God.
I clicked the button.
Did you miss it?
I got it.
Nice. All right. Well, sorry if you wanted to draft with us and you were waiting for that, but
I recognize 6 of the names in here at least.
Yeah.
Stewie, Turbo, Legend, Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
Lego Maego, Willis, Matt. The only ones, and if you're in here, I apologize, but TR Miller, McGill. I feel like I remember your boy Frank. Big Sassy. All right, sounds hot. Yeah, Matt, I'll let you pull that up. You are the 103, and I am the 11 spot. Last time I had the Pasternak, you had the McDavid, you had the 2, I had the 7, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I had the 6. Again, top of the board. I mean, I'm pretty obviously McDavid 1, as I mentioned, but I think it is just McDavid, McKinnon, and then I would have a easy time saying Matthews or Draisaitl with Kucherov being right in the mix. Like any of the 3, I think the 3 spot is honestly one of the toughest spots to draft from. Where do you want us to be in that? Where do you want our heads? Do you want us there?
No, I want it to stay there. I just
What is your goal? You're up in any second, so.
Yeah, we just did this though. Why is it in a different spot than last time when we
close your tab thing?
Yes, that's it. Yep, thank you.
Okay. Genius. Thank you, Willis, for taking your time there and letting Matt adjust. So you're up at the. Oh wow. Okay, well, made it easy for you.
Did the ADP reset?
It has. Yours is wrong. I don't know how.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Let me refresh.
You're living in the past, man. That looks better.
Okay, there we go. I don't know. That was weird.
So yep. Willis went Kucherov. Matt goes McDavid. Draisaitl 4. And the 5 spot, I think, is where things get real easy. One of these guys is going to get to you naturally between McKinnon, Kucherov, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Matthews. I think
the 6 is the easiest, I think.
Because Pasternak is still in that. Yeah.
Who are you saying at 5 is not in the mix?
No, I'm saying 5 is easy because those top 5 are.
But you're still having to pick between someone. Who's the 6th guy you're saying?
I think that McKinnon, Kucherov, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Matthews are just maybe a hair above the Pasternak Kaprizov.
Okay.
But Pasternak is kind of tough to argue against. It's just
for sure.
My problem with him is how bad Boston is, and he just doesn't care. So it's like I keep getting mad and being like, they're so bad. How could? And then he's just like, I don't give a shit. I'm gonna score 110 points. Don't fucking care. And
after
I get
Pasta,
dragged.
Yeah, DJ's on the clock now at 11. He gets to take Rantanen if he wants him after saying,
I don't want to, but I'm going to do it and hope that the guy that I want here comes back to me. Let's see.
Oh, gee, I wonder if DJ gets Phil Forsberg.
Nope, I think I like someone more.
That's interesting. After Pasta, it goes Kaprizov, Jack Hughes, Cale Makar, Brady Tkachuk, Mikko Rantanen.
Jack
Kyle
Hughes.
Connor goes.
Yep.
What's up, Stewie? First of the year. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, all right, he's gonna auto draft. I honestly feel like Eichel might be just as good, if not better, than Rantanen with the bit of the center premium at the top of the board, going with Marner. I will Yeah, I mean, I can wait a second. I will go to Forsberg though. I mean, even on a down year, he kind of got there. I mean, the shots, the hits, the block, he kind of does it all. People seem to forget. And if the goals do come back to him, and I do think they can, he could be right back again at that kind of premium top end spot.
GA ripped
I didn't
Miko
really
just to draft him
rip
at
it.
ADP. That's right.
I know I didn't want to, but let's just. I was good. It was him or Eichel. Those were the two I was debating between, and I thought maybe I should have just. I couldn't get him. I mean, I like Rantanen more than Forsberg and Connor. I think you're right
Oh my
about
God.
that.
Someone's doing it again. In our first draft, Chris took Makar and Hughes, and now Turbotron is taking Makar and Orensky. What is going on, people?
They love the D.
Yeah, like it's very interesting. It could just be auto drafting, but Orensky wasn't an auto draft, right?
Let me make a comparison to football for a second, even though it's a bad sport to watch. You know, people still draft it for some reason. Do you think the goalies are like the running backs, only not really getting such a high premium, where it's like there's only such a handful of them that can actually get those unbelievable high numbers?
David Kitchen in the chat. All right, Turbo. Let's see what you cook. Well, you know I'm drafting J-Rob.
Yeah, I realized I was never getting him back to me, which would have been nice. I was like, he ain't getting to 35. But yeah, I mean, but do you agree with the sentiment of like, yeah, there's only like 7 goalies maybe that are like in that complete next tier above everyone else that like maybe they should be going even earlier? I know last year we made a pretty big push on that, and it feels like early this year they're falling, but I don't know. I'm kind of spinning in a circle right now. I'm wondering if you're going to find me, and that puts you back on board.
I really want to take Cole Caulfield, but I'm going to take Bouchard.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't draft enough NFL now to really feel running back, but
3 drafts in me,
I think goalie's just more of the position. Just it literally runs out. Like there's only like you need to have 36 goalies drafted in a draft, and there's 32 starting jobs, and half of those are 1A 1B situations. So like it's not even like a talent or like it's just a workload thing. And yes, the better teams are more likely to have workload goalies that will, you know, definitely get 50 starts. But to me, it's just drafting certainty at the position where we know, you know, almost everyone in the top 10 is going to get 50 starts, 55 starts, you know, health permitting. And so that's, I think, what makes it useful. And with running backs, like, I don't know, is that the same thing? I'm not fully able to make the comparison. I think we did this for Pete a couple years ago, and I do not remember what we said.
I think we did defense was tight end and goalie was running back. I can't remember now. So yeah,
I feel like I disagreed with you on it. So it was a contentious topic, and right. I just hated it. It was stupid.
The Buffalo Sabres.
It's a better sport.
Back and slaps again and gets Tage Thompson at 38.
Oh no.
I was really, really honestly thinking I'm gonna take Dahlin and pray one of the goalies gets to me like on the other side. And then I was like, well, this guy's auto drafting. He could take both goalies from me. And then Dahlin went 1 pick before me anyways. So I end up with Jake Ottinger. The Igor versus Ottinger, I think I just lean with the better team on that situation. I'm not gonna lose a bunch of any sleep over really either of them. I think you're kind of splitting hairs between who I consider to be the best goalie in the world in Igor Shesterkin and a goalie that's going to see the lion's share of the net for one of the teams I think is the best in the league. And then, yeah, I mean, Tage Thompson, I think I'm going to be a buyer. 44 goals last year on a team that was very bad on the power play. 16 power play points in general, and I think it was only like 8 goals or something. Whereas in 2022, when he had 47, he had 34 points on the power play and like a massive number of them. So you get that regression in the right way back on the power play. I think he could pay off in spades. Matt, you are up next.
Turbo's winning me back, taking the old man Ovi. You love to see it. and then Jarvis. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he said he was going to live a little. I want to see him get crazy toward the end of this draft. That's for damn sure.
I'm telling you right now, if Tage Thompson is going to be the 38th player off the board and I can get him at that time every time, I'm going to take him. Yeah, Matt takes Kempe. That was probably the last, I think, elite winger that is out there. Wow. There's some guys you could argue.
I mean, come on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Gunther. I mean, again, but you know me. I mean, that was my highest drafted player last year. One of the things I was correct about.
Let's grab a goalie.
Yeah.
Let's grab Phil Gustafson. I don't think I have any super piping hot goalie takes this year. Yeah. I mostly just want to get them early. Preliminary look at the data showed that last year the meta was mostly different than the Best Puck Manifesto, which of course, says a lot about the fact that we're using one slate to make judgments on a contest like this about a sport that's a bunch of dudes chasing around rubber while on Blades of Steel, that we don't know shit. But it did show once again that investing in goalies was just the most profitable thing you could do. And like I said, the position just runs out of starts at some point. And so just grab the certainty of starts, invest in them early, make sure you get 3 good ones, and the rest will figure out itself. That's definitely a way that I'm going to be building this season.
Yeah, no problem with that at all. I really... Yeah. Who did you push? I'm sorry.
Oh, he pushed Tage and then realized you were there, and he loses it.
Man, I feel like I'm running into a very interesting spot here at the 59. Pettersson was one guy I was thinking about. I mean, that is a very interesting topic, is Elias Pettersson, of like, man, could this be a guy?
And are you going to strap on that condom and draft Dylan Larkin at ADP?
No. I'm gonna do the Sorokin take here. I'm gonna grab Ottinger and Sorokin. I mean, Sorokin's gonna see an unbelievable. I'm still I'm telling you, they're bad if they trade him. Not gonna lose my mind.
Worth noting for Sorokin that Semyon Varlamov was replaced by David Riddick in free agency, and it sounds like Varlamov is going to be placed on LTIR. So that was the huge bugaboo with Sorokin, was that Patrick Waugh loved Varlamov. That doesn't seem like it'll be the case. So we'll have to test Patrick Waugh once again to see how badly he can screw over Sorokin this year.
Would make me happier than him getting fired. And then I grabbed Connor Bedard. I am going to spread some wealth early and try to go for some upside. The debate at center of, Wyatt Johnston or Connor Bedard, I just think Bedard is the much better player. I know the team absolutely sucks, but this Bedard guy is special, and I want to get a piece at 60, where I just think he's a better. I just think, I mean, again, we're talking Pasternak can carry what he can carry. I think Bedard can do 100 points in a year any second now. It's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, and in reality, did his line get worse? No, his line mates are, I would say, objectively better. Donato is going to last, and then it's going to be Burakovsky over random nonsense players. So I'm in. I think everything else is sort of the defenseman problem I have is I don't know if Sanderson or Morrissey or Uyghur are head and shoulders above guys that I can get just a little bit later. Anyways, Michkov gets sniped from you there right before you're on the clock. So you go to Alex DeBrincat, a guy that I know we were incredibly low on last year, but definitely carved out a really nice role, as we already mentioned. So
I hate it here. I'm banning TR Miller from the chat if he's here. I'm pulling a Matic, and I'm just
who do you take?
Well, he's the one who took Michkov.
Oh yeah. Jordan Kyrou, I mean, man, a guy that I was unbelievably high on, did get there last year, especially at ADP.
Okay.
72 feels fine. I don't know. You're doing the Fiala?
Kempe Fiala, run it back, baby.
Yeah, I mean, the power play does liveth through those two. If their power play goes off for a week, Fiala and Kempe are scoring you 1 billion points. So hopefully it's in the playoffs.
when Jim Hiller gets fired on October 28th, I'm going to be
Is
doing
he
front
now?
flips for
No.
my.
Waugh is the worst coach. Is he the second? He's got to be.
Oh no, Jim Hiller's easily the worst coach.
You would take Waugh over Hiller.
Patrick Waugh has no team to work with, so we don't really know.
That's fair.
Like, I mean, Patrick Waugh made Noah Dobson the power play one guy, at least. You know, like, yeah, Tony D came in and did it, but like, I don't know, he made Noah Dobson pretty good, I would say.
Man.
Jim Hiller
Tom
came in and was
Wilson.
like, Jordan Spence, you're going to Siberia, and Brant Clark, like, you're gonna be our fucking third pair bench warmer. Like, I don't know.
How did Tom Wilson have that many fantasy points?
A trillion hits.
He scored 30 goals, 33 goals. I mean, I'm not buying. I mean, I get what he's selling. I'm not buying it. Crap.
Well,
I don't love what's happened
you
here.
need some wingers, I would say.
Yeah. I'm going to take Tuck. I don't love it.
I mean, that is the king of slaps right there.
That's who I am, and that's who I'll always be.
Slappy Haven.
Man.
Population DJ.
Yeah, I mean, then I'm just grabbing Dylan Holloway. All categories
Yep.
player. I mean, like you look at all the, like he scores in every category. Like I did not realize he had it like that with the hits. You know who really could have used him last year, especially in the playoffs with the way he plays?
The St. Louis Blues.
Edmonton.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, by the way, here is Holloway's season. Almost 8 points a game. Better than Kyrou by a slight amount, which is crazy considering you know, he went for a third in the offseason.
He went for nothing. He's really good. He scores in all categories. And I mean, he's going to carve out a power play one role on a team that we both, I think, like. And you know what? I mean, again, we haven't gotten to it yet. We'll talk about the Blues. Take a guess at what their odds to make the playoffs are.
Minus 125.
Minus 115. Last year, weren't they like plus a bazillion? And yes,
I mean,
I am
yeah, well, yeah, no shit, GA, no shit.
What's wrong with Buffalo players?
That they're gonna get traded to good homes? Gee,
yeah,
don't
exactly.
tempt me with a good time. All right, good time to take a center.
Yeah, I know who I would take.
Hischier or Trocheck. You know what? Screw it. I'm gonna take Aiden Hill.
Wow. Boo.
Because I can get a center next, but I think after this, yeah, goalie gets pretty gross.
There goes Lane Hudson, third defenseman for Willis, just jumping in on it early. Nico was, I mean, this just my guy. I will go right back to the well. The scoring was there last year, and he missed some time, but man, I really am quite a fan. So
did Trocheck just go?
He did.
Damn. All right, Rupe Hintz, come on down. Nice little Robo hint stack. You have the Rantanen. We will swing an in-season trade. That's never come back to bite the Rantanen trader, I don't think.
Yep, I am 6 picks away. The wingers are there for me now. I have a few queued up. I have a couple defensemen in my queue. Plenty of guys, I feel like. Swayman goes there. Third goalie for your boy Frank. The 0 center start, 5 wingers, 1D, 3 goalies. Can't complain with it. I like Swayman quite a bit at that ADP. I mean, again, I got to give this one to you last year. Like, you were the one that was like, you cannot take Swayman here. Like, if you draft Swayman at this point, at this pick, like, you are an idiot. And I was like, it's the worst of the bunch, but like, are you the dumbest person in America? And you were so correct.
Yeah. Did not work out for those people. I've noticed, by the way, sharing the draft boards, that when you have it split screen like I did, it doesn't pull the names when you scroll down. So when we get to this point in the draft, I'm just going to go back and forth from the board to, where we are. So let me see if I can get some zoom action. Zoom out a little bit more. That's pretty good, I think. Can we move our pictures to the top?
Certainly
That's
can.
that's just
You
DJ.
just
I don't know.
want me to do it? Hold on.
Yeah,
Give me one
just throw me somewhere. I mean, it doesn't matter.
over here, okay?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, I take Thomas Harley and Nertushkin on the other side. It was Barzal or Nertushkin for me there. So my team is Tage Thompson, Connor Bedard, Mikko Rantanen, Philippe Forsberg, Alex Tuck, Dylan Holloway, Val Nertushkin, Thomas Harley, Ottinger, and Sorokin in net right now. I feel really good about my team. I would like a little bit more correlation. Got a touch going on. Got a little Dallas twosome. Got a little Buffalo twosome.
Got that Buffalo, baby. That's all you need.
Don't you fucking say it.
All right.
Matt, you are almost back on the clock. What stats are you building, sir?
Hitting the clock. I've got Dallas. I've got LA.
You got Edmonton, technically. You got Bouchard, McDavid.
I do have Edmonton. I could get a goalie here.
Yeah.
I could get a defenseman.
Logan Cooley goes quite fucking early.
I'm just gonna take Dorofeyev. Because I think Dorofeyev is gonna be an absolute G in Vegas.
Wow.
I think he's a winner.
5-2-3-0. I probably would have grabbed Stuart Skinner if I was him, if I'm going to be honest, because you could use a goalie.
Absolutely living. I think he's autoing. Yeah. By the way, if you are not, actually, let me pick first. All right, I will practice what I preach. I will take Skinner if he makes it to me. Let's see.
He's gonna. I was gonna think he's going to now that Vizmelka went. So
yeah. Yep, that's fine. I will say I got bitten by this in a draft earlier today because I forgot about it. If you don't want to do what Willis is doing, where you're clearly just auto drafting a bad team because you forgot the draft started, or you left and the draft started and you forgot about it, go to your rankings tab, go to the NHL, and over here there's a limits that you can select, and just set it to something reasonable. Like I'm fine. I don't want to draft 5 centers, but like if I'm going to auto draft, I do not want to draft a 4th defenseman or a 4th goalie in almost every case. And this will just make it so that your autopilot will not, force you into something silly like the 0 goalie build or whatever Willis is doing. So yeah, just do that, save it, and that'll keep you on the rails going forward. So little bit of advice there.
My 2-5-1-2 is looking extra spicy right now. I am up next. Will I get my guy or will I not get my guy is the question that everyone's asking at home. And the answer was yes. I did get Cutter Gauthier to close out my wing position. Rantanen, Forsberg, Tuck, Holloway, and Nertushkin and Cutter. I think that's going to close me out at wing, and I'm going to load up everywhere else at this point. I have 2 really high upside centers already. I could really use a defenseman right now. I think I'm going to do the Seth Jones situation. Just hope that he stays healthy and continues to take that power play 1 role in Florida. I bet on him last year. It didn't really work out entirely, but can he continue to get a higher role in Florida and kind of fend off other guys for that top power play spot? I'm willing to bet on it. So Harley and Seth Jones, we know what Seth Jones can do with rates. So I'm fine with it. Just gonna need a little bit more point production, which was absolutely not there in Chicago for him.
Yeah, and I mean they went double defenseman power play, which if you're drafting a D man, it's a nice thing to have in the bag because you don't need to get it right. They can both be on the power play.
Right.
So who knows if that sticks, but especially if Kachuk misses time. Like it sounds like he might. That'll be interesting. Zeev Buium gets the old hike here.
He has risen a ton. He was like not quite undrafted, but I believe his original ADP was like 170 maybe or 180. Like he was right around there. A guy that I was actually really considering just went Quentin Byfield. kind of retweeted the video today of just like the unbelievable nature of what he can do with the puck. And I wonder if he can't get to a bit more of that power forward center level and maybe start to shoot a bit more. Would need better rates to really pay off, but I really do believe in the player. So, Matt, you are back on the clock. You have a 2-5-1-3 of 8 seconds, 7 seconds left. Will he get it off? He has a player already in the queue, and he is going to take Sean Monahan.
I will happily take Sean Monahan. Yeah, no problems there. I'm basically looking at wingers and D, I think, to close out this draft. If a center appears that makes sense, I might go there. But let's see.
Was Eklund that good last year? I mean, I think not really. Okay. It was just the auto pick of it all, but I know who I want. I do not believe they're going to get to me. And
I'll take Patty Kane. I'll see how he does with Cat here. I like the little mini stacks that I'm building. Just again, the extra flex makes it so that lower and lower scores will make it onto your daily rosters. So if DeBrinket's doing really well in a week, I think it's pretty likely Patrick Kane gets there too. And I've solved 2 problems of the 7 that I need to score in that week. And when weeks where they play 2 games, for example, I'll have LA to pick up the slack, and then of course I'll have the one-offs and J Rob and Dorofayev to also pitch in. So
yeah. No, I like the thought process.
And yes, D wise.
Yeah, there goes my guy. I was gonna be taking McAvoy with my next pick, and it just didn't happen, which is understandable. I am gonna ask you for my next pick here. I'm gonna give you 2 options, and I'm gonna have you make a pick for me. Are you ready? And let's just see. I mean, they're gonna both get to me, I believe. Would you go Merzlikins or Askarov?
Askarov.
I think so
believe
too.
9 times out of 10, at least.
I agree. I think Jet Greaves is gonna steal a lot of starts.
Damn it! I need to restart to see the draft board. Whatever. Or I need to refresh to see it. Since my pick, we've gone Zibanejad, Jari, Cousins, Kochetkov, McAvoy, McTavish, Marchessault, Askarov, Toffoli, Carlson. DJ takes Luke Hughes. Yep.
It was him or Carlson. I decided it was going Luke.
Yeah, I think I lightly prefer Carlson, but
it's close. The Carlson buy is. I think the Carlson buy is that like he starts really hot and gets traded at the deadline. And then you get this like huge playoff boon from a guy that like actually is getting enough, like Letang is just not gonna last forever. I like Carlson, I really do. Yeah. I just, I think Luke Hughes is gonna take a pretty big step in the right direction. I mean, we saw it in spurts. There was times where you looked at his iCourse per 60 and you said, holy fuck, like this guy is actually shooting. Is he gonna get there? And then he got hurt.
Ely Tolvanen, congrats. I mean, the hits numbers on him are actually good enough, but man, just give this guy a power play job. It's ridiculous. Like their team is so bad, yet he still can't sniff the power play. Whatever. I'll take the Nuge. I took him last time too on the McDavid team, but hey, I think the value is there in round 14, and the upside makes it worthwhile.
Hard to argue. Man, we are really going down in the coffers now for a couple centers that I still want to draft.
Lego wanted Zellweger. That's fine. He can have him. I want Morgan Riley. I think he's back on the top power play now. We'll see. OEL could be there. They could use a young guy, offensive guy on the top unit. But Marner was more of a defenseman than I think anyone else on Toronto even could be at the forward position. So I do think a D-man has to play in the top power play now. And I think Morgan Riley's more likely to do it. So I really like Morgan Riley as a buy. And then that leaves me in the position of having I think either a center or a defenseman for my final pick. Because if Bouchard isn't scoring most weeks, I'm done anyway. And I do think D is slightly undervalued this season with the extra flex spot. So
I know
I'll
there's
think
a lot
about
of
it.
fun. There's a lot of fun buys at wing right now, and I just need to go center for the last two picks. I mean, Stankoven's still there, McMichael, Coronado. I was gonna take Matt Duchene. He goes for center, so now I'm even more fucked. Boy, I'm gonna have to get spicy or something here. All right, I'm gonna do the Filipino thing. I might as well with hope Vicky's healthy, and he will not be.
That's fine.
And then I'll bite again on Elias Lindholm with my last pick. Screw it. He's going to be with Pasternak. He's going to, but more, I mean, almost definitely. And like the alternative that people are looking at is does he get traded to Carolina and become the 2C there? And like he was bad last year, but like, man, I don't know. He did not start and play with Pasternak as much as he could have. So I close out Keedle and Lindholm, over taking a last winger in like Stankoven or McMichael or whatever. And like Lindholm was bad last year. He had one less underdog point than Connor McMichael. Like I know you could argue McMichael did more with less, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I'll just take Brant Clark and just say cool.
Yeah.
Because Noah Hannafin with no Petrangelo, is he just worse? Shea Theodore, yes. Truba is fine, but I think Clark with the LA stuff and just, again, it's not going to be fun most weeks, but I think the upside is there. Uh, Especially if Drew Doughty goes to the Olympics again, he's definitely getting hurt because that old man is not playing 90 games this year. So
No.
Brant Clark was chosen by them. They sent off Jordan Spence. Like, we just got to get rid of Jim Hiller. It's not going to happen, but hey, at least my 40% Brant Clark will look real good in 5 years when Brant Clark is the number one fantasy scoring defenseman in the
Jim
league.
Miller was so bad they fired their GM and they kept him somehow. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, we could do it. Yeah, quick synopsis, and we should get out of here. We're hitting the 2-hour mark.
Yep.
The fact that seemingly many of you stuck with us throughout this entire show is degenerate behavior that I could not respect and love more.
Yep. That is the case.
And we didn't even get through we got through 1/3 of the NHL.
We literally got through 1/3 of the league. Yes.
Embarrassing stuff, but very much what we thought it would be.
That is very on brand. Yes.
Yes. Next lobby is getting close to full. I will probably give myself a 10-minute break and try to join it. So if you want to go draft again, jump right back in there. If it's full by the time I get there, I will have a nice tear in my eye of happiness. So yeah, Matt, tell me about your team. Tell me how you feel. What's going on?
Yeah. I got McDavid at the 3, which was very fun. I do like that. I followed it up with J-Rob, Evan Bouchard, Adrian Kempe, Philip Gustafson, DeBrincat, and then I just went full on stack mode. I finished the LA stack with Kevin Fiala. I got Eden Hill in goal. I got Rupe Hintz to go with J-Rob. I got Dorofeyev. I guess a light stack with Aiden Hill. If they go 82-0, I think that's pretty good for Aiden Hill and Dorofeyev. I took Stu Skinner because Edmonton, and also we talked Stu Skinner. He's probably getting 50 starts. Whether they're good starts, who knows? But like Cal Pickard is not stealing that net. John Gibson spoken for. Who are they getting? I don't know. We'll find out. I finished off center with Sean Monahan. I grabbed Patty Kane for the DeBrincat stack. RNH with my Edmonton stack that existed. I took Morgan Riley, just talked about why I liked him. And then I took Brant Clark because it's a draft and Brant Clark was on the table. And I took Brant Clark. That should not be a surprise to literally anyone on the planet. DJ, what about your team?
I mean, everything you just said was fun. it was a day that ended in Y. It was a draft that I was picking in, so of course I took Tage Thompson. But wait, I'll go in order. I'll go in order of when I drafted him. So 11th pick overall, I went with Mikko Rantanen after saying specifically that I did not think he was worth the ADP. I did it anyways. You made a good argument for why he might be, and honestly, I think more than anything, I just think that like I think I just trust him more than Kyle Connor. I trust him more than Forsberg by a touch. I think Jack Eichel might be the guy, though. I think with the center premium, with Eichel getting Marner, that might be enough to sway me towards Jack Eichel being a first round pick. Regardless, Mikko Rantanen, Forsberg, I'm willing to buy back in on. He like I said, pretty much got there last year and didn't quite have the year he had before. The goals just didn't follow. The power play stunk. The team was terrible. If it's even remotely close to business as usual for Nashville, he should be right back in the mix. I then kind of double tap goalie center. I went Ottinger and Tage Thompson. Like I said, Tage Thompson, I'm going to be continuing to buy in at 38. I think he's a good leap above Nick Suzuki, Mark Scheifele, kind of the centers that are going next. And kind of the entire next tier. I think he's the last one in, and I'd like to have one of those, especially in this format. Sorokin is kind of the faller. I think you kind of summed it up nicely that like he's clearly going to get the lion's share of starts, and this Islanders team is bad, but he got there when they were bad. I think they have a reasonable enough defense to get him.
Oh, thank God. Did my internet freeze? I thought he would never finish. I think that's DJ. All right, cool. He took Bedard, Tuck, Holloway, Thomas Harley, Val Nichushkin, Cutter, Seth Jones, Askarov, Luke Hughes,
I made
Phil
it
Hedel,
all the way.
Elias
2
Lindholm.
hours.
Oh, thank God. I did that
When
in
did I cut
4
out?
seconds, and it took him 4 minutes. I don't know, somewhere in your 97th paragraph about Connor Bedard.
Well, you got a hot date at 11 o'clock in Eastern. I mean, come on, man.
At some point, I want to build my golf lineup before they tee off in 2 hours.
Oh, my God. You're right. We need to build our golf lineups before they tee off in 2 hours. Well, thank you for summarizing the rest of my draft for me. Is there any players that I drafted that you don't like at ADP or otherwise? Is Seth Jones stupid? That was the one I kind of kept thinking, like, is that stupid?
I think I'm Luke Hughes curious. Like, I don't know. I don't know if he has the sort of, like, I mean, I'm taking Brant Clark, so like, whatever. It's defense. It's late in the draft. Who cares? But I do wonder if he has a sort of fantasy profile that we can rely on. Obviously, Dougie is still there. Like, I kind of want to see Dougie on the move before I have to, again, get multiple things right. Not just is he a fantasy guy, but also can he beat Dougie, for the job kind of deal. So that's like the one guy where I look and I'm like, I'm not sure. I don't love Alex Tuck either, but you already took Tage. Like, obviously, if Tage erupts, it's more than likely Tuck's getting there. So I don't mind it, but I probably personally would have taken Tom Wilson or Holloway, honestly.
Sick boy. Yeah, no. I took Holloway with the next pick.
We're nice. All right, we'll do. Let's see, who's
Frank's team. Frank's team, and then we shut it down
Frank.
for golf. Yeah, Frank's team. We're shutting it down.
All right, Pasta, Quinn Hughes, Vassy, Marty Nachos, Brandon Hagel, Timo, Demidov. Still no stacks, if I'm not wrong. Double taps goalie, Montebo Swayman, Svechnikov, Strome, Besser, Cousins, Leo, Rossi, and Sorelli. Okay, so
lost
5 centers to close. Quinn Hughes solo. What are your thoughts on a solo Quinn Hughes build?
Yeah, I think you got to try to find a Vancouver guy to go with Quinn Hughes. Who is it? Pedersen went.
Besser. He took Besser.
Oh, he did take Besser. Okay, he did take Besser. I was gonna say Besser's got to be in there somewhere too. Like, yeah, I think you're trying to find at least one. I mean, how many guys really are there on Vancouver worth drafting?
The main problem, like in the NFL, if you take Brock Bowers or whatever, he's playing 4 quarters every week, except that one bye week, which, whatever, that's been talked to death. In the NHL, if you take Quinn Hughes and you're playing a 24-week season, Quinn Hughes is only playing 2 games when some defensemen are playing 4, probably 25% of the time. So to me, the single is just really tough to overcome. I definitely, like I talked about, I was considering a double with just Bouchard and Morgan Riley because I think they can yin and yang well enough to overcome that. But I don't know that, like, if Quinn Hughes gets hurt, obviously you're doomed. If he just has a couple down weeks and then runs into a stretch where he plays 2 games in a couple weeks, you're just getting such poor scores that, like, I don't know if it's worth it. And then come playoffs time, guess what? If in round 1 Quinn Hughes is the guy you had to win with, 50% of the semifinals is going to have Quinn Hughes. If Quinn Hughes sucks, you're doomed. Everyone else pretty much has 1 or 2 defensemen they can rely on to beat that Quinn Hughes score. So while you did use it to reinforce the center position late, I don't think you got enough upside in your wing position to really make it worth it. Obviously, Pass is great, but like Timo, Demidov, Svechnikov, even Besser, like all guys I just don't have a ton of interest in. So I don't think you're winning enough positions to make that one-off worth it, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I'll be interested to see how this one does scoring-wise.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with everything you just said. I just think one of those wingers early on had to be a center, and I don't know which center that exactly is. Pedersen went a bit early. Maybe you were hoping he'd slip back to you at 67, that people would be scared off or something. But yeah, I think you want one more D in there for sure, and you just wanted one more center early. I mean, at least one more D, honestly. But I mean, I think you could get away with Hughes +1 if you really mapped it out correctly. But
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing. And and the thing is, I like a lot of these picks. I think most of these picks are good. I just think the construction, you can't take a luxury pick on Brandon Hagel at wing when you already have Nachos Pasternak, still no center. Like, I think that was, and Timo, 2 guys that just aren't ingrained in their first power play. Demidov as well. It's like that one of those just had to be a center. You just have to say, screw it, I'm taking Aho here.
Yeah.
I'm taking Tavares here. Like, I just don't care. I'm projecting where they're going to end up, not where they are now. And I think a lot of centers are going to rise a bit.
We will talk Demidov next week, or whenever we do our next round of team previews. I don't know if it's next week or later this week. Who knows? But I do not think he's anywhere close to Matvei Michkov as a fantasy prospect, and he's younger, and I don't think the role is as featured. So I think Demidov is actually one of the worst priced players at the moment.
I have to agree.
Right.
I definitely agree.
I think we should shut it down. It's been a long show.
Yep.
Yeah, we will let you all know like when we're going live next. Obviously, we don't give a ton of warning because we're just we're just vibing out here. But thank you all for tuning in with us. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I'm at Fake Moods. DJ's at DeAndrew94. Also, our Discords are a great spot to be. If you saw us in the Morning Skate Pod, the Morning Skate Pod Discord, if you didn't, DM us. We can get you in there. It's the best way to see when we're going live. But also just hang out in Puck Chat and the Badge Bros on Peter Overzet's Discord, Deposit Kingdom. And I'm also posting these in Davis Maddox Discord. I think you need to be a Patreon member for that, but whatever. He's puck curious, and I'm going to try and bully him into doing some puck drafts this year, even though he's trying to eke out a living as a fantasy football grinder who hates football. So, yeah, he doesn't hate football. He hates that he loves football.
Every American this year will furthermore find out just how much they love watching hockey when they win the Olympic gold medal. So,
that'd be great.
The hockey train is only going to get stronger. It's only going to build this year. And I know the Olympics, we're going to complain for the NHL fans and some of the best puck stuff is going to get a little wonky and there's going to be a player that gets hurt and all that stuff. But everybody's going to go, wow, what a fantastic sport. This is good to watch. Well, like watching 60 minutes of action instead of 7 is a big difference.
Yeah, agree. Sick team, McGill. Good stuff there. Just looking at it. Cool. All right. That'll do it from us.
Happy
drafting. yeah, happy drafting. Hopefully your guys hit it straight and not into the fescue. And we will talk to you at some point. Peace.